Hello, Jesse Good here, and today I'm expressing my thoughts on the LEGO Minifigures The Disney series. Now, the official pictures came out today, which, when we first saw leaked pictures of this, the reception was very mixed. And I have to say, now that we have official pictures of this, my overall thoughts on the series is mixed. I mean, there's some parts I really like, some parts I don't like. We'll get into that later, but these retail for $4, and there's 18 minifigures this time around, and they released May 2016. So the first minifigure is Aladdin, and this one is definitely one of my favorites. It looks accurate to how he did in the movie. Like, nothing really got lost by making this in minifigure form, which is kind of a problem with some of the other minifigures, but it's a problem they couldn't really avoid. And he is very useful, and I do like Aladdin as a movie. It's one of my favorite Disney movies, so I like all that put together. He has some great pieces that I could use outside of this. Like, I love having more flush minifigures with just different skin colors to put in, like, a Lego setup or whatever is good in my book. And like I said, he looks accurate. I love everything. The only thing that is kind of weird for me is his accessory. You see, Genie has the exact same accessory, and I think they could have put something else. There's so many other things they could have put, like the monkey. I forgot the monkey's name. Even though Aladdin's one of my favorite Disney movies, I haven't seen it in a long time, honestly. But they could have put the monkey as an accessory with Aladdin, and that would have made more sense than putting the lamp, because the lamp also already comes with the Genie minifigure. And really, Genie couldn't have as much other accessories as Aladdin could have. You get what I'm saying? Alright. Next up, we got Alice, and Alice comes with an Eat Me and Drink Me accessory, which is really nice. The minifigure herself was actually one that was really controversial when it was released, or, you know, the first picture leaked. Now that we have final pictures of this, at first I didn't really like it. Now she's one of my favorites. I think she looks adorable in Lego form. They really captured everything well. Maybe it would have been better if she had short legs because she is a child. But, like I said, I think the accessories and everything, and I guess in the context of just this single Lego minifigure, it's alright that she has, long legs, and it's cool that she has printing that's extremely similar to the one that was on the Bavarian Lady, which, is my favorite Lego collectible minifigure. So, all that's cool, and it looks like she has a new hairpiece as well, so that's going to be really nice to get. And I love the little black bow that she has. It's so cute. Next up is Ariel, and when I first saw this was one of my favorites, and yeah, it still is one of my favorites. This is the only Disney princess that is coming out in this Lego minifigure series, which is something interesting to note. And it's the first Lego minifigure to also have a mini doll form, which that's kind of cool as well. All that considered doesn't really factor to how much I like the minifigure itself, because the minifigure itself, I think, is like Aladdin. It translates perfectly into Lego form. Everything looks good. She didn't need, these cartoony eyes that they used the Lego eyes instead for. All that's really cool, and I love the little detailing, like her tail having that little green in between the two fins. That's really nice. The only thing I don't like about this minifigure is the accessory. It's not Flounder, it's not Sebastian, it's just a clam with a little jewel. Alright, that's not really that interesting. But the rest is all awesome, and I love that we're getting a new hairpiece. They didn't even reuse the hairpiece from the mini doll line. No, they actually made a totally new mold. That's really neat. And next up is the Buzz minifigure. You guys know when this was first announced, I was so hyped that we would be getting more Toy Story minifigures more than anything. And you guys know Lego Toy Story is one of my favorite themes of all time. And when the first pictures leaked of this, I said this minifigure was garbage. And I didn't like it. Well, now that we got official minifigures, my opinion has changed just a tiny bit. The head, admittedly, the head print looks a little tiny bit better here. But it's still just, I think the molded head looks so much more superior that they released in the 2010 Toy Story version in the Toy Story sets. However, the rest of the minifigure is better than that because it has much more detailed leg printing, which looks awesome. Love that. It has arm printing, which looks awesome, except for one thing, and we'll get to that later. It has even a new helmet mold. If you look, I think the helmet mold's much thicker, and it's bigger, and it looks like it might be a different color, but that might just be this promotional picture, because I don't know why they would do that. The one thing I don't like about the rest of the minifigure besides the head, is the arms don't seem like they will have some of the printing that the official, Buzz character has. But if you look super closely in the bottom left corner of the left arm, there's a little bit of red. So who knows? Maybe he might actually have some printing, like the laser and the Star Command printing on his right arm. So I'm hoping that he does. It seems like he might not, but the more I observe those little corners, it looks like there might be a little bit of different coloring. So I'm hoping the official minifigure has that, because then I could just swap out the head, put the molded head, which I think worked so much better, and then I could have just an updated look at Buzz. Now, you got to keep in mind, I'm not mad that they made this decision because I know, or I don't know, I'm pretty sure they will make Toy Story 4 sets in 2018 when that movie comes out. So, I think when they do that, they'll go back to using the molded head. I think they just use the regular minifigure head here to make this more of an exclusive minifigure, and so that they could try a different look at it and see the reception, and it seems like the reception is that the molded head was better. So I'm glad people agree with me there, but not everybody thinks that. I'm going to say that, but it seems like for the most part, people are like, oh yeah, the molded head was better. So there you go. Next up is Captain Hook, and when I first saw these pictures, I was like, this guy's the worst. And when I see these pictures, I'm like, this guy is still kind of the worst. He is probably tied with Syndrome to being the worst, which we'll get to that later. It's just that face does not translate well onto a LEGO minifigure print, unlike Aladdin or Ariel, so that's kind of sad. But the rest of the minifigure, the torso and everything, even the inclusion of a rapier, even though it doesn't have a silver blade, that's still really cool, and I love the hat and everything. It's just that face that just doesn't make this one of my favorites. Next is the Cheshire Cat, and when I first saw this minifigure, I said, why did they include him? And when I see this, I'm like, yeah, this is still an odd choice. He's not bad. I mean, you could just compare it. He doesn't really stand as much in the original Alice movie, but it's still he does have this standing posture, so it works fine as a minifigure. It's just an odd choice, honestly. Seems like such a irrelevant character compared to what they could have done. But I still think it's a good interpretation. I like the molded head, and I love the tail too. So, it's not really that bad. It's just one that I don't want necessarily. Next is Daisy Duck, which suffers the same thing that Cheshire suffers, in my opinion, just out of my own eyes. I don't care for Daisy Duck as a character. I like Mickey. I love Mickey. I love Donald. I love Goofy. I love even Minnie, but Daisy has never, even as a child, I was like, okay, I don't really care about this character. So, yeah, just not one that I want, but not a bad interpretation of the minifigure. And actually, she has some great pieces. I'm definitely going to use that torso as like a nurse outfit. I think that looks really cool as kind of this nurse scrubs. And then we got Donald Duck, which Donald Duck looks awesome. I think Donald is a great character to include, so I really want him. I don't think there's any flaws with him besides the fact he doesn't include accessory, which, whatever. He does include one thing, which is a tail. If you look closely, he actually has a tail. We don't have a picture of it, but you can see right between his torso and above his legs, there's a little bit of that tail, like Scratchy's tail, or even like the Cheshire Cat tail, where it's a piece that just clips on from on top of the hips or near the hips. So I do like that, and I think Donald's an excellent inclusion and an excellent interpretation. Don't care that he has a molded head, because it just illustrates the character perfectly, and he's not a human, so he doesn't need a human head. Next is Genie, and again, I guess it kind of suffers from the Hook syndrome. Doesn't look that good as a minifigure, but it's the best thing they could have done on a minifigure flat head, because he's not really a human. So I think they could have gone away doing a molded head, because he's a genie. But I don't know. It's a weird scenario. For that, I would just say don't include him, even though he's like one of the most famous Disney characters. I feel like they just couldn't have included him. They just could have not included him. So he also has the little lamp, which I think fits better as an accessory for him than, say, Aladdin. So next is Maleficent, and she looks great. I mean, she's probably one of the best in the series in terms of interpreting that into LEGO minifigure form. Looks really cool. Love the hat piece, that's definitely like a helmet type mold, and the capes and everything like that just looks awesome. And then there's Mickey Mouse, and when I first saw this, Mickey Mouse was one of my favorites. And he's still one that I really want, but I don't know. I think he looks worse in the official pictures than he looked in that leaked picture. But really only this official picture, because I think in the picture of all the minifigures together, he looks really good. I don't know. It's just weird. This official picture right here just doesn't look that good for Mickey. But I know he's a great minifigure because, like I said, in that real life shot, he looks great there. And just a great inclusion because he's basically the face of Disney. And then we got Minnie Mouse. A very popular character, so glad they included her. Love her legs because it's also really cool because you could probably use it as like a legging type build or something like that because she has a little bit of like a skirt design and everything. So that's cool and just a great interpretation of that character. It looks like she uses the Mickey head and it seems like maybe that has a hole to put the bow in. But I'm not totally sure about that. I think the Donald one has that too with Donald and Daisy, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. We'll have to see how that turns out once they come out. Here's Mr. Incredible, and I think he suffers the Hook syndrome of not looking perfect in the scale of a minifigure, and that's only because of his belly. His belly, and it's not even like that. It's not his belly, but this is hard. His body proportions. He's a much bulkier guy than just a small kind of minifigure, and it makes him look a little bit like his son Dash. But I'm not saying they should add a belly or anything like that, because I think like Homer Simpson worked perfectly without a belly. But like, it's weird. It's really just a weird thing about proportions. This is interesting to study. I don't know. One thing that's that nobody's talking about. Look at his eyes. He actually has regular minifigure eyes, but then he has white around there, indicating that he has bigger eyes than just regular minifigures. That, in a way, I think might make it look a little bit weird, but it has to have that, because if it didn't have that, it would just be black all around with just 2 white dots. So that's a huge thing, and so he doesn't follow the style of the other humans in the series, and he has his own cartoony eyes. So I don't know, that's just something interesting that I noticed. Next up is Peter Pan, and I really love this minifigure. Definitely one of my favorites. I think I like Aladdin a little bit more, but I like this one especially because it's like my hopes if they'll ever make a Lego Legend of Zelda series. I think that hat would be perfect for making Link, but that red thing at the top might ruin it just a little bit, but who knows, I think the face is really chipper and cool, and it captures that character from Peter Pan, and the torso is great for Link as well, but this is more of like a classic style Link. The legs and everything, oh my gosh, it just makes me want Lego Legend of Zelda, but a great interpretation of a classic Disney character, and it's cool that he comes with 2 daggers as accessories, because I think that fits. And Stitch, honestly, I think is like objectively the best interpretation of a character in this whole series. I think he just looks spot on, like this is Stitch. Great that they use a molded head because he's not a human, so it doesn't have to fit like this criteria that all the humans don't have molded heads in this series. So I think that works perfectly. He looks adorable, he looks like how he did in the movie. Everything's just perfect with him. Except one thing is that he doesn't include an accessory. But that's it, that's such a minor flaw. The rest of him just looks adorable and awesome and accurate. Next up is Syndrome, and Syndrome's very interesting because I think he is the worst of the series. He just doesn't translate well into LEGO minifigure in regards to his face, and that's because he's lacking that big chin, and then they use awkward colored eyes for his eyes, and then that smile is just kind of creepy, and it doesn't really look like something you'd find on a LEGO minifigure. To me, it looks more like a Chinese knockoff than anything, just on that face print. The rest of the minifigure, on the other hand, looks awesome. I love the detailing on the gloves, which are so minuscule that you wouldn't even notice, but they just add so much to it. I love the silver boot printing and everything like that, even down to the new molded hair and the 2x2 Omnidroid pattern, which is a nice tile inclusion. So it's just the face that makes him one of the worst. It just doesn't seem like somebody that would interpret well into a LEGO minifigure. And if you think about it, he's the only one, or not the only one, but the one out of this whole series that is the least recognizable, because Syndrome isn't this major Disney character, and he's from the newest movie out of this whole list, which was The Incredibles, which came out in 2004. So it just seems kind of odd that they included him now that I got down to thinking about it. Though I do like the inclusion because I love The Incredibles, I don't think this translated really well into LEGO minifigure. There's the LGM from Toy Story, which people are ranking on as being pointless because they already got this in LEGO minifigure form. I'd say, honestly, I'd prefer him over Woody. You're going to be like, oh, what? Buzz without Woody? But think about it this way. Woody with a LEGO minifigure head would look absolutely atrocious. He needs to have that molded head. So this is literally, I think that's literally the reason why they didn't include Woody. It's because he doesn't look good with a minifigure head. And since they set all these proportions to only have human-like figures with minifigure heads, which you can see, obviously Woody and Buzz aren't humans, they're toys, but they're based off of human-like figures, it would not look good. It would look awful. So that's why they went with the LGM, because Toy Story is a huge franchise and everything like that. And the little green men would be a cheap thing to include. They already made the mold as a LEGO minifigure in the Toy Story line and everything. They just updated the printing. It looks like his eyes, if my eyes aren't deceiving me, are a little bit lower down the pupils. So that's kind of interesting for a variation on the head, but I might be totally wrong about that. We'll have to compare that once I get the minifigure. His boots are now there. It's cool that they actually printed. It's not dual molded. It's printed boots, which is really neat. And maybe the torso print is updated, but I'm not entirely sure about that. And then there's also Ursula, which I think Ursula honestly looks pretty good as a LEGO minifigure. Almost suffers the hook syndrome, but just missed it just by a little bit with that face. It's like on the edge of that. I think the teeth are a little bit weird, and the eye kind of mascara is a little bit odd as well, but just misses it by a narrow bit. I do like how she has kind of this body, you know, the octopus-like body, but it's, if you see the breast part and the belly are raised, so she kind of has a fat, chunky look to her. So that's very, very interesting just as a decision, and I think it works fine. I do think it works out. So I don't know if that's part of the torso, which I highly doubt it is, but somebody said somewhere that it was. But I think it's just the torso goes underneath there, and then they have this kind of tentacle octopus-like body that is attached through the legs. Nice new hair mold, nice new octopus body, and it even comes with a trident, which is really neat. So that's it for LEGO Minifigures, the Disney series. The ones I want the most, not my favorites, are Buzz, Mickey, Ariel, the Toy Story alien, Stitch, Peter Pan, and Aladdin. And the ones I want the least are the Cheshire Cat, Daisy, Hook, and Syndrome. So what are your favorites? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.